Chapter 12, the Benoni, the intermediate person, as hopefully we are all on the same page, which means BITs, Benoni in training. Not yet a Benoni. We have work to do, but this is the goal. That, as the Alter Rebbe explains, mastery over not the emotional and intellectual subconscious, only the righteous have that, but of the self-expression of the soul, which is in our actions, that we have complete mastery, our words, our speech, how we communicate, complete mastery, saying only the appropriate and doing only the appropriate, and thought. And thought is the most difficult, challenging, because thought is constant, thought is a true expression of who we are. Our feelings in our heart are expressed in our thoughts. Now, from there, they might further be expressed in words and in actions, but the first place is in our heart. So we spoke about the Benoni, who is able in their prayers to be so attached, have a feeling of love for God, a love that's generated from the mind understanding, the mind grasping the greatness of God, the realness of God, so much so that it brings a feeling in the heart. That feeling in the heart is so powerful that all of the urges of the heart that are, self-directed, whether they're, simple urges, lusts, forbidden things of urge that are an urge in the heart, they are so removed at that moment, so insignificant at that moment in prayer. Yet, after prayer, they return. So what is it that doesn't allow those urges of the heart to rule? During prayer, they're not ruling at all, those urges of the heart coming to the mind, because they don't come to the mind, only afterwards. What is it? Is because the natural love of the soul continues throughout the day, even though the love of that was produced by understanding, appreciating, grasping the oneness of God before, during prayer, that has been removed. That's gone because no longer engaged in that, right? But there's still that hidden love that remains. The Ava Misoteris is still there and gives the added edge to overcome. Furthermore, the mind has the power that any time a negative thought comes up into the mind, that we can not allow it to consciously settle in the mind. They can be pushed away. And as the Alter Rebbe says in today's class, not to accept it willingly, that thought that isn't appropriate, and to push it away with two hands. Now, why is the thought coming? It's involuntary. It's not a voluntary engagement. It's because, again, the urges of the heart have returned after the prayers. And now, there are those, what we have strong feelings towards, or some type of feeling towards, becomes my thoughts. Or they come up into my thoughts. But the Benoni has that power, has the presence of mind, has that love of God that is still there, not as powerful as during prayer, but it's still there, the hidden love that doesn't allow the negativity of the heart to gain supremacy. and is able to push it away with two hands, to avert that thought and pushing away with two hands. When you recognize that that thought, at the moment you recognize that that thought is a negative thought, an evil thought, right? And the Benoni refuses to accept that thought to be entertained. Because if the Benoni were to accept that thought, that means willingly accepting, remember, till that the point of conscious awareness of that negative thought, it's involuntary. The moment that you become aware of it, consciously aware of it, it's now a voluntary thing. It's your choice to entertain the thought. And the Benoni doesn't want to, because he knows that's a stain on his soul. That would make the Benoni a Rasha. And a Rasha means wicked. Wicked meaning a stain on the soul. Wicked here doesn't mean... Imagine it's only one thought, one negative thought. But the Benoni doesn't want to be wicked for even a moment. So will not willingly entertain a negative or an evil thought. Now that's in things that pertain, let's say, between you and God. The Alter Rebbe goes further and says this is also between human relationships, with one with their fellow. If there rises in the heart animosity or hatred, God forbid, to another. Now, we don't mean hatred here to Hitler. And that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, I hate him. Not talking about that. There's place for hatred. Right? This is Jewish teachings, not some other teachings. But we're not going into that. We're talking about your neighbor. You're talking about if you're a Jew, a fellow Jew. Your neighbor. Just, right, actually, family is the best example, because that's who we have animosity towards, first and foremost. Because someone who's distant from me, I don't have an expectation, but someone who's close to me, I do have an expectation, which in itself is a problem, but I won't go there right now. And therefore, there creates an animosity because it wasn't fulfilled. Leads to even a hatred or a jealousy, anger or a grudge. The Benoni, when that feeling comes now from a feeling of the subconscious, and now is going to now take form of expression. Expression where? In the mind. Thinking about that animosity, about that grudge. He did that to me. My very own cousin, my very own child, my very own spouse. Boy, that's upsetting. Whatever, right? So what will the Benoni do? That's a negative thought. Right? I'm not talking about a thought over here that somebody did something wrong, an iniquity, and you know that there was something wrong there, and you're in a position to help them mend the wrong. You're in a position, whether you're the teacher, you're the parent, you're the friend, and you could approach them and tell them, you did something wrong here and needs to be fixed. I'm not talking about that. That's a different story, that we have an obligation. That's not the issue over here. We're talking about now negative thoughts that are entering our minds that are wrong, inappropriate, evil, that stain the soul. Benoni doesn't allow it to be entertained. So what's the heart's desire want? And the clear indication over here is, if your mind is telling you that I need to help this person, that's not a feeling. That's the mind, the intelligence telling you. But we're talking about here, you have a feeling of jealousy, anger. You have animosity. Those are feelings that now are going to express themselves in your thoughts. So the beinoni will, knowing that this is coming from an ill place, will do au contraire, the exact opposite of what that feeling is indicating and telling me to do, right? Again, we're talking about a person who has displayed things to you that have brought a pain to you. What will you do? You will display towards this individual the exact opposite, a disproportionate amount of love. More than to someone who you have the feeling of love. That is very powerful. Of course, not to be provoked into any being upset or angry, take revenge, God forbid, even without anger, but do the contrary, to repay offenders with favors. First of all, where does this concept come from? So, first of all, the Alter Rebbe is saying, the heart's, what you're doing is the contrary of the natural inclination of your heart. You're doing the exact opposite. That's true service of God. Is that you don't follow the dictates of your heart and you do the opposite. How could you do that? We're capable of doing it because we have the hidden love in our heart of God that will allow us to have that hidden love for the other. And we're talking about over here, doesn't mean you're going to have, you're displaying a disproportionate amount of love to this person. You're repaying an offender with a favor. That doesn't mean your heart is full of love towards this person. No, because you're not righteous. Don't fool yourself into thinking that. Oh, I do it because I really, really love you. No, you don't really, really love this person because they've offended you. But what you do have is a deep love of God that will allow you to act in a loving way to this person. You're not feeling it. That's not Judaism, unless you're righteous. That's a different story, if you're righteous. But Benoni is not righteous. We are not righteous. Halavai, so be it that we become a Benoni. We are at least Benoni in training. So the training over here is a very clear idea, is that we can go and do the opposite of our heart's desire. Our heart's desire is to, give it to this person. They're an offender. They offended me. And here I'm doing the exact opposite. So where do we get this idea in Torah? So the Alter Rebbe concludes the chapter by quoting the Zohar that says that we need to learn from the example of Joseph, Yosef HaTzadik, with his conduct with his brothers, that he repaid them for the suffering that they brought to him. They wanted to kill him. They sold him off into slavery down to Egypt. It was all but forgotten for 22 years. Well, not the full 22 years was, he did become the viceroy. But, so 20 years. And yet, his brothers thought that they're going to have to pay for what they've done. And he says, no, you did nothing. And he repays them for all the suffering with kindness. How's that possible? So, aside from the fact of the divine providence, of course, and there's a lot of philosophical or mystical teachings here that need to be elucidated, But the main point over here is that when you touch your godly soul, the Benoni does, in practice, not in feelings. Feelings doesn't have mastery for that. But in actions, can I do a favor, a kindness to someone who has hurt me? Of course I could. It's an action. I could even fake it till you make it, right? That you can even put somewhat of a smile. Inside, your heart isn't feeling that. That's okay. Because what you're doing is allowing your godly soul to have mastery instead of your animal soul. Your animal soul will seek revenge. You will seek, to repay in it in some negative way. Your godly soul, if it's in control, will not allow that to be expressed if you willingly choose your godly soul over your animal soul. Again, it will not be able to take the intellect and the emotions and to have mastery over that you should feel a love, have an awareness that is very clear of. That's not going to be something capable of. But that's okay. What we are capable of is doing the opposite of our heart's desire and to act, or speak, or have the thoughts that are positive thoughts, even though in the heart might not be that. We're all capable of this. We're all capable. It's a choice. But sometimes, unfortunately, we abdicate choice. Meaning, we're so consumed with negativity in us towards that individual that we have, in a sense, lost our choice. We have no freedom of choice in that moment. That's the worst thing. To lose your freedom of choice. We don't need to do that. We can sustain it. Even if maybe we will not completely live by this, but by the very fact that we have this awareness now, and this, and we're able to at least allow the divine soul to have a say, at least we're not so far gone. That's really important, not to be so far gone. And with the animal soul that is in control of us, at least to have this kind of awareness that I could act kind to this person who has offended me. That's choosing the godly soul. All right, there's a lot there, folks. A lot to live with. I know now that. And whoever can come online and share what they know now. And if it's something personal, even better. That's even better. But first we need to know, what is it that we actually learned from today, and specifically from today? And if someone can come online, Jason, Leanna, your buttons there somewhere, so I could have you join. So, Batya, I know now that my thoughts are an expression of my heart and emotions. We're supposed to push those thoughts away when they occur, and it's not coming from the Yetzer Tov. When awareness occurs, we're required to rectify it by pushing it away with both hands. Excellent. This is easier said than done. Absolutely. Absolutely. Until it's put into practicality on a constant basis. The fact that we're in the battle, we're in the game, that we're aware of this, and that we will now try to implement this one more time than we did previously, boy, we have gained, we're growing, we're in the right direction. If we learn this class and we don't apply this somewhat more than we did previously, then that's not a good sign. That means the teachings are not really penetrating. They're not therapeutical. But I very much doubt that that's the case of anybody here. Okay, Rena, I know now that after prayer, the mind can push away with two hands negative thoughts, so not to stain the soul. Very good. Thank you. David, I know now that I need to push away any negative thoughts that are towards another with both hands immediately and do the opposite and bring more love to them. Right, more love meaning kindness, acts of kindness, not love. That wouldn't be real. But to act kindly towards a person, that is real. Okay, John, I know now that while I cannot prevent inappropriate thoughts, my mind can dispel the thoughts using both hands by not dwelling on the negative thoughts. It is difficult not to repay the offender with offense. I am a BIT. Excellent. By the way, I want to share with everybody, afterwards I upload this class to YouTube, which please go to my YouTube station, Tanya Rabbi, and subscribe. And what I do there is I put in the description, I write, I know now that, and I take from what you say. What you say every day, and I put it there. I don't even put my word. I might change a couple of words here and there, but primarily I put your words there. I put your words there to share, so you can see sometimes your very own words. I try to, mix it up. All right. Hannah, I know now that the Benoni has the power of presence of mind, the love of God during prayer, but not as powerful when not engaged in prayer. Heart can still have supremacy over the thought. Not heart, the mind. The heart doesn't have, it does have supremacy, right, after prayer. Not supremacy, it doesn't. It has an opinion. If it's supreme, that means you're gonna think it. Right, but it can come up. It will come up. Conscious awareness of thought is involuntary. Non-conscious, not a conscious awareness of thought, is voluntary. Sorry, I read that wrong. My apologies. Correct what you say. And it's our choice to allow the negative thought to enter and put a stain on our soul. This all applies to the human relationships, especially family. I started to look at my own family rifts in a different way, although I still do not feel able to make the first step. But I do pray for them, even though there is no communication. I'm beginning to view their actions from their perspective. Wow, that's a great accomplishment. Way to go, Hannah. Eugenia, I know now that to counter negative thoughts towards someone, we are striving, BIT, Benoni training, should do the opposite of the heart desire. Instead of seeking revenge, we could do a favor to that person that will allow the godly soul to take control over the animal soul. Excellent. Actually, it's not that will allow. That is the godly soul having control and supremacy. That is the fact, because that's the only way that can happen. The animal soul won't allow you to do a kindness to somebody unless you want to kill them with kindness. We're not talking about that. Unless you want to get back at them with the kindness. Sometimes, that might be it. That could be the animal soul. We're not talking about that. Eric, I know now that I lose my free will when I let the animal soul take control. Excellent. Golda, many people who hurt others regardless of how well you treat them, by not responding to them with negative reaction, often allows them to continue their behavior. What's the advice in such situations? Sometimes you feel that you have to really, give it to them. And it might be, but it's not coming from animosity. See, there was a clear thing what the Alter Rebbe was saying over here. We're talking about emotions. If you're coming from animosity, if you're coming from anger, no. If you've worked through that, if you work through that and you're not coming from there and you're coming from a good place and bring it to their attention, that's very different. So it's very clear what we're speaking about is the emotions over here that are coming from the animal soul that need to be pushed away with two hands. That's the point over here. And allow the godly soul to reign supreme. We're not talking about, and as I mentioned earlier, we're not talking about how to help that person fix it. Well, that's without anger. That's without any kind of animosity. That's the only way. But thank you. That was excellent. I know Liana, coming on over here, please. I know now that I need to replace anger with love, but anybody that can come on and share on screen, that would be like going against the animal soul that is, oh, I can't do that. I'm frightened. And allowing the godly soul to soar, not to be frightened. And you come on. That would be amazing. Katie, would you like to come on? Okay, not a problem. Someone else. I need to ask first. Give me a moment, folks. Stay with us. Andrew? Hey, what happened there? Jason? Felicia, are you with us? Oh, there we go. Jason? Wait a moment, folks. Hopefully this is going to work. All right. Jason with us. Jason, to call you. There's feedback. I hear it over here.
Is that better?
One second.
Okay, you hear me though?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a quick question.
Sure.
If a person sort of lives their life like by like they're brushing their teeth, like they're living by rote, and they're not conscious of their thoughts, is that necessarily sinful? If they're like the Benoni is somebody who's able to catch himself thinking of everything that he's doing in the time that he's doing it. But if normal people like us, we're not thinking, when we go to the fridge and we see the chocolate cake, we just grab the chocolate cake. You understand?
Right.
So that's the question is, how do you get on a level where you're always able to catch yourself, or the mind is able to come into focus right when, and then there's the issue, you don't even know if whether or not it's something that could be sinful or not. So it's a bit of a gray area. I'll let you respond. I'll get off now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. So, first of all, if it's coming on autopilot, then you know that it's not coming from a good place. You know it's not coming from a good place. Not coming from a place of mindfulness, a place of connection to God, a place of divine service, because it's coming on autopilot. We all do it. I do it. I also go to the fridge and mindlessly rather, not mindful. Oh, is there something there? I also like chocolate. right? And need to, that's what the Alter Rebbe is teaching us over here. That's why we're studying Tanya every day, to allow us to come to that mindfulness that we do have a choice. And the very fact that we have the choice is itself a statement of um, that we're serving, we're engaged. So the less that we are aware, the less choice we have. So Jason, excellent question. That's what the 53 chapters of Tanya is all about. How we can make our divine soul more real for us, and therefore we're more mindful of daily engagements of in life, whether it's with others, whether it's with the fridge, whatever it might be. So stick around. Again, thank you so much for the question, and thank you for having the what's the word? The courage. That's the word. The courage to come on. All right, I see there's a lot more over here, and I appreciate that everybody is engaged. And also, folks, I just do also want to mention is make comments to each other, not just what I say, but what you say to another. You know, if you like what someone said, comment. Hey, that was great. Thank you. And again, I'm hoping that for future classes we can have brave, courageous individuals like Jason and David and Batya. Funny, they're from Montreal. I don't believe it's just. I guess they're courageous because they have to deal with cold weather over here. And if you can deal with that, so you can deal with anything, even getting online. So for you in the warmer weather, well, I'm sure you'll be able to. I was just kidding. We'll all be able to. All right, folks. More on this we're going to get when eventually there'll be the Tanya Therapy program that you'll be able to participate in. And as I mentioned, please send me in a private message your email so we can keep you posted on so many other amazing things. Very important. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuch in Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful year. A whole year ahead of us. And a wonderful Shabbos. Thank you. Be well.